All right, here we go. Back with another weekly preview, AK-47 Prime Trading Investments. That's right, it's Josh Smith with another breakdown with your level small cap and large cap. September the 8th to September the 12th. Let's get to it. Now, I haven't really talked about the small caps, but here's what's been going on this summer in August, now into September. Multi-day runners. Let's give you a breakdown. So essentially, we'll see about 1 or 2 or 3 new runners each week that will actually hold their gains throughout the day. Of course, we'll see 4 or 5 probably new spikes every morning, right? From, granted, whatever day it is from different new small cap plays. But there'll only be about 1, 2, maybe 3 that will hold their gains all, throughout the week. As in, at the end of every week, you can go through and count all the ticker small caps that actually held their gains through lunch and into after or power hour, into after hours. You might have 1, 2, or 3, right? So week before last, one of the bigger ones was SOGP. Right, we've been seeing this trend. So this is one of the bigger runs here recently. INHD has been another one. We saw Thar was a multi-day runner, right? So my point is, this week you're going to see 1, 2, maybe 3 new tickers that are holding their gains in power hour into the closing bell area. They're well above the V-up. They're spiking. They're bullish. You might see again 2 or 3 this week. Majority that we see this week are going to crash back by opening bell or right after the opening bell, and no longer or we no longer looking at them. Not the next day or the day after. So pay attention to that. So this week, come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have at some point this week 1, 2, 3 runners that actually will pop up. They're holding their gains in power hour into the closing bell. And that's your clue to go, hey, you ran today. I know, and you spiked up great. I'm going to be looking at you again sometime later this week. Or maybe even next week. Just like going back to INHD here. This was from a couple of Mondays, Monday before last. Ran last or Wednesday before last, and kind of a couple spikes in between there, and then boom, this last Thursday we go back to it. We went back to it a little bit on Friday. So my point being, we could see a new runner tomorrow that holds up through lunch into power hour, and then we'll probably see it again on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, right? Or a new one pops up on Wednesday, holds all day long into power hour, after hours. We'll probably see it Friday or next week, next Monday or Tuesday. So keep your eye on that. That's what we've been seeing all summer long. Are multi-day runners. We get 1, 2, 3 new tickers each week that actually hold their gains, like I said, through into the closing bell. And then you need to pay attention to those tickers that held their gains into the closing bell, because we will go back to them at some point in the future after that. So small caps, we're seeing spikes, we're seeing multi-day runners, and we're going back to previous runners. So we're having, say this coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every day we're going to be going back and looking at certain tickers that ran. Like Gels. Gels is a great example. Gels ran on Friday. It held its gains for the most part. You get my point. So we could possibly be seeing Gels run later this week. New play pops up tomorrow. You haven't ever seen it before. Like, oh, here's a new play, ABC. Well, we'll be going to look at Gels and INHD and SOGP and previous runners from last week. But then we'll look at these new runners, ABC, CBA, DBF, whatever the tickers letters are, right? Well, pay attention to whichever ones are holding up come power hour into the closing bell this week, because I promise you'll be seeing them later on this week or the following weeks to come. Just the trend we're in. Now to large cap plays and going to the SPY. Big day upcoming this week on Wednesday and Thursday. We got CPI and PPI. This uptrend channel that we've been in for quite a while. There's the starter, there's the setter, there's almost a dip, there is a dip. We're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, with the higher highs along the way getting a little bit less and less and less. We're barely making new highs. Why? Because the uptrend's getting tighter. So I'm going to stick with that this week, with this uptrend being the normal high of the week, 652.20. That's all-time highs. New all-time highs could be created, and to me it's going to come most likely from CPI, PPI on Wednesday, Thursday. If we do get big, crazy, popping results, watch for this to move to 655. It could even see 658.75 on the way up. So normal high of the week right there in this uptrend channel. 652.50 area. Ultimate high of the week goes through through to 655, if not 657.50. I'm going 657.50 to 658.75 as your ultimate high of the week. Well, same thing on the bottom side. This will be your normal low of the week, right around 639, wherever that uptrend channel's at. Ultimate low of the week, if we crack that, we get some big movement down with CPI and PPI back-to-back days. We're minimal going down to this 336 to 335 area. We could end up down around the 333s. So ultimate low of the week, right around the 335 mark, down to 333.50. Now we're going to just go straight to plays and go through the plays. Trade it or don't trade it. Apple, tradable this week. Why? And a beautiful bull flag on the way up here. This looks absolutely gorgeous for more squeezing. Normal high of the week, I think we do squeeze and go for more up to 244 area. Ultimate high of the week takes it to 248.75 into 250. On the way back on down, we are in this beautiful uptrend channel here. You can kind of see it. Watch for a crack back below this 235, 50, 236 area, and especially the low, which I'm going to call my normal low of the week, the low from Wednesday at 234.50. If we crack that, we're going to see some good movement down, and then this uptrend cracks, no longer really bullish, and we'll see an easy move down to 233, if not down to 232.50. So normal low of the week, 234.50. Ultimate low of the week to 232.50, maybe even a little lower. AMD, tradable this week in my opinion. Why? Cracking out of the trend that we've been in for quite a while. Let's go back to that 4-hour time frame that I was just showing you. Bounce, bounce, bounce. We're cracking out of it. So now on the way back on up, that's going to be your normal high of the week, that 156.50 to 157 area. Getting through it will be tough. Ultimate high of the week, though, takes it back up to 160. Maybe to last week's high in resistance area, which is right around 162.50. Not to the tippy top of last week's resistance, but I'll go to around 162.50 to 163.50. Ultimate high of the week there. Normal high 157 area. On the way down, normal low of the week, I just think we crash no matter what, we go down to newer lows. But my normal low of the week won't be much lower in case we do pop back on up here Monday or Tuesday after this big reversal on Friday. So normal low of the week, this old resistance, new support area right around 147, 146.50. Ultimate low of the week goes to the bottom side of it, and the touches down here right around 140, 150 to 142. Definitely some movement this week from AMD. BABA, it's an in-betweener. It's okay. Why? It's got this beautiful downtrend. If we break the downtrend, watch for the staircase back up over 138 to 141, over 141 to 142.50, the 75 mark. That'll be your normal high of the week, last week's highs. Ultimate high of the week takes it back up here to this 148.75 to 149.75 mark. On the way down, low of the week's been created at 130, so at 130 mark will be your normal low of the week. If we crack that, watch for move back down to 128 minimum, if not down to 126.50 mark. I like it. Circle, I like it, but it may get stuck. Why do I like Circle? It's actually in an area we haven't been in for quite a while, cracking down, and then we're really going back to where we came from, which this was a newer IPO play earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. Ran from 64 to 300 essentially in less than a month, which is nuts. Big move in June. And we're just slowly but surely staircasing our way back on down. A lot of selling, profit taking. Hopefully people that were in long here did take their profit. And of course, the reason I like it under last week's lows, which will be my normal low of the week, but under this 108.20 or 108, we'll just call it 108. I saw the 20 there, but it's actually 108.02. Under 108, watch for the move down to where this double bottom boop and boop right around the 101.50 to 102 mark. Ultimate low there, normal low of the week. Friday's low at 108. Back on up, last week's normal resistance area from the last, I should say, well, not last week's, because of course Tuesday we came down through it. But the resistance from the week before last, support from the week before last at 125 will be your ultimate high of the week. Your normal high of the week will be this 120 area where we came down, cracked from, and couldn't get back over when we fell on Tuesday. So 120 to around 120, 150 will be your normal high of the week, and being stuck in this channel from 108 to 120 essentially. Ultimate high, if we break this downtrend and then move back up through 120, we'll definitely hit this 125 mark. And if we crack 108, we're dumping down to 102. We may go even lower, but I'll stick with that because of this big soak up on Friday back up. On to Google. Google's not bad either. Why? All-time high is going to happen this week. Over 236.13, we're moving to all-time highs, which to me we go to where I'm not going to go too much higher, but I'm going to 240. Kind of this old uptrend channel resistance right there. I know it's just from this week's movement. Really can get rid of both of those lines, but in my opinion, watch for a move to 240. That's all-time highs area, so we really don't have a lot of charting, obviously any charting to hold it down. Ultimate high of the week goes to 245. Normal high 240, ultimate high 245. On the way back on down, watch for a crack back under this little support right there from Monday or Friday of 231.50. That's also pretty much the high of day in market on Wednesday. If we crack that, we're for surely going on down, in my opinion, to these lows of 228.75 area. Then down to last Thursday's low of 226.80. 226.80, 70, 80 area will be your normal low of the week. Ultimate low of the week goes down to 222.50. Tradable. I like it. Movement there to be had. I know. I hear you, dog. My cat's meowing at me. Stuck this week. I'm going to go straight to two-play stuck. Meta. Leave it alone. It's stuck in a channel. Do not like Meta, I should say. The other one, PLTR. Stuck in a channel. Don't like Meta or PLTR this week. Now back to plays that aren't bad. NVDA is a lot like AMD and Circle, cracking down out of an area we haven't been in for a while. So now that area coming back up will be new resistance. So that is going to be my normal high of the week. Anywhere from around 169 to up to 170 will be our normal high of the week. And we have a little bit of a choppier week, although I don't think that lasts all week because of CPI and PPI. Ultimate high of the week over 170. Watch for move to 172. And over 172 up to this 173.50 mark for your ultimate high of the week. On the way down, watch under 164, which I think we crack even for your normal low of the week. Under 164, watch for a crack down to this 162.50 mark to 162. Normal low of the week there. Ultimate low of the week goes all the way down to 160. And we could go even a little bit lower than 160 for your ultimate low of the week. Again, because we're in an open territory we haven't been in for quite a while. Next on the board here, Qs for all you Q lovers for the futures. Pretty similar to the SPY. This uptrend channel is going to be your normal low of the week. So right around 562 or 561, depending on where that's at, will be your normal low of the week. Ultimate low of the week, you crack this 560 mark. We'll call it 560, ish or so, 560 to 562. Ultimate low of the week with CPI and PPI. And if it gets nasty, we'll see a move all the way back down to 550, 175, 552. On the way up, this but the 52-week high, all-time high area will be your normal high of the week. We'll call it 581.50 to 583.50, somewhere in this area. Ultimate high of the week sets new all-time high, goes through 585 in my opinion, easily to 587.50. 587.50 to 588.75, ultimate high of the week. I know, Doc. Lastly here is Tesla. Tesla, we get rid of this old trend line up right there. Really don't need that anymore. We do like these layers and lines there, and we're going to see if we hold 347. If we don't, she's going to crack back on down this red line I have in. So point being, let's just go. I'm going to leave the 4-hour in. Normal high of the week is this 356 area that we have not been able to get out of the last couple of weeks. Ultimate high of the week easily skyrockets to 358.70. And I'm going to go with my ultimate high of the week going through 360 up to this 368 mark. You heard it first here. Now on the way back on down, what's going to be key, like I talked about, is 347. If we crack that, you can see it tried to hold up pretty much for the most part on Friday. If we crack that, watch for move down to last Wednesday's high in 343 area. I'll go a tad bit lower for my normal low of the week under 343. Watch for move down to 340. 340. Ultimate low of the week goes down. CPI, PPI, big days, could be back to back, all the way down to 332.50, 331.50. Last Thursday's low of the day will be your ultimate low of the week. So some big movement there from Tesla as well. So those are the tickers I like the most this week. Of course, only excluding PLTR and Meta. I do like most of these because we're in an area range we haven't been in for a while. So keep your eye on those tickers this week. And of course, Wednesday and Thursday for CPI, PPI results. And of course, going back to small cap plays, watch for the multi-day runners to start forming newer ones. We're gonna stop looking at older ones and start looking at newer ones. But you can't count out the older ones anytime soon. If I'm, in my opinion. So again, this week we'll be watching previous runners from the past week, 2-3 weeks, and then we'll be adding on a couple of new 2, 3, 4 runners at most that we'll be watching later on this week into the coming weeks ahead. Have a great, safe, blessed, food-filled rest of your Sunday. Go Broncos. Hopefully your NFL team wins today and your college team won this weekend. See you back here next week for another breakdown on the levels here with AK47 Prime Trading Investments. Name's Josh Smith. See you next time.